What's good, YouTube? It's your boy Bril with another video. Today we doing another reaction video with my boy, love brother. Q, feel me? Hey, bro, turn off the light. Hit 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 the light. Oh, I can't even see. Dang.
Probably can see us now.
Hopefully.
So, for some context, I'm a guy, and this happened when I was 18. I was planning on moving out of state for college, and I didn't want to pay the ridiculously high price for student housing. So, me and my mom turned to Craigslist for better options. We found a lot of places near the school and for a reasonable price, but one we found would live in infamy for me. We found a place for $500 per month in an area near the school, so we instantly took it. On the day before my school's orientation, me and my parents drove down to the school and rented a hotel room for 2 nights. On the way down, I was texting the guy about the room, to which he gave a description as well as the address to where I would be going. I'd like to note that I was the one that was filtering through the options while my mom sent links for any new openings. After texting back and forth, he asked for me to send a pic of myself right after he sent a pic of himself. I sent him one, but by examining his pic, I began to feel a bit uneasy about it, especially after he failed to respond to any of my
I ain't gonna lie, offer looking at this guy, looking at this dude right here. If he sends me a picture, if he asks me, send me a photo of you, he sends me this Craigslist. Oh no.
Oh no. Craigslist? Are we serious? With a peace sign?
I sent him one, but by examining his pic,
This second photo wouldn't even be there.
What?
No, I'm not sending nothing. You're not even gonna see me.
I'm deleting that.
Well, you're gonna see me when I pull up.
What?
I began to feel a bit uneasy about it, especially after he failed to respond to any of my texts after the pic was sent, even the one where I asked him what would be a good time for me to check the place out. Later that night, I talked to my dad about it, and we decided to go to the address while my mom was asleep in the hotel. It was then that my suspicions proved to be true, as we were greeted with a trashy-looking trailer home with a white pickup truck parked next to it. Thankfully, it was like 2 in the morning, so he couldn't have seen us. The very next day after orientation, me and my dad explained our findings to Mom, where we decided that my enrollment at the school would be pushed back to the fall semester until I could find a proper place to stay. So, from what I could guess, the guy must have thought I was an 18-year-old female looking for a place to move and that I would be checking out the place by myself. So, when it was revealed that I was actually a fully grown man, he must have realized his plans to prey on a teenage girl weren't coming into fruition. Going into too much detail, my first year in college, I stayed in a suite-style room. 2 of us in one room and 2 in the other, and we shared a bathroom outside of our doors. Long story short,
What just happened again?
He just moved into college. He's talking about his college.
by the end of the year, the suite mates and I became great friends, and we alienated my roommate of the group. She ended up being a really hateful person. We decided that our second year we would try to get rooms together. We ended up only getting 2 of us in the same room, and the third person had a single. My roommate Cora was my roommate before. Now, Cora smoked a lot of weed.
She did, bro. I was wondering what type of drug she did, bro. I know you see her eyes, dude.
She couldn't go to any class without getting absolutely stoned. Now, I didn't have a problem with this, but I didn't smoke. Now, my roommate Sarah also smoked, but very little. Again, the first few weeks of our second year were great, and we had a lot of fun, and we all got along really well. That is, until Cora flipped the switch and changed completely. The first red light was when I asked her if she could cover herself when she got out of the shower. She would shower and stay completely naked and walk around the
Forget everything you knew about war games. The large-scale action game War Thunder will bring you a storm of
room, and I explained to her how it made me uncomfortable. She was fine with it. I didn't care if she wore a towel, but just not butt naked in the middle of the day in our tiny room. Next came the weird instances. Sarah came over quite often and slept on the floor between us, and we had a lot of laughs throughout the night. But there was one night when Sarah was awoken by someone reaching over to her very close, too close, and they were brushing her chest. She just froze and pretended she was asleep. She opened her eyes a little while later, and Cora was staring at her in the complete darkness. No phone, just staring wide awake. From here on, things just went crazy. She would scream at the top of her lungs in the shower and after because she couldn't walk around naked. She began to pluck every single pubic hair while laying in bed under her blankets, making herself bleed. She also started punching things repeatedly, and overall she made the environment extremely hostile. After a few weeks of this, I decided to spend most of my time in the study room down the hall that was only big enough for one person. Cora and Sarah were in the room, and I see Sarah run frantically down to the study room door and ask if she can come in. I waved her in, and she was in a state of complete panic. While I was in the study room, Cora had a complete breakdown. She threatened to hurt me and how she was waiting until I got back so she could strangle me. She was throwing things around the room and speaking horrible things about me and my family. Things that were so bad that Sarah wouldn't repeat them to me. She got to the point saying that she would hurt me in my sleep and strangle me while I'm studying. It was so bad that Sarah was frozen in fear. As soon as Cora left the room and decided to go eat, that's when Sarah ran to me and told me everything. Apparently it got to the point that she actually had a pocket knife in her hand and was pacing back and forth waiting for my return. I ended up having to switch rooms, go to a safe room, and completely change my situation because she wanted to hurt me. Sarah and I are still great friends after we both transferred at the end of that year. She decided to see her about a month after I left the room, and Cora had carved the word happy into her arm and scarred herself on her upper shoulder. She repeatedly badmouthed the situation like we planned on ruining her life, when in reality it was all her. She's the one who went crazy. I really don't know what happened to her. There's a few more details that I left out, but overall this person became a complete nightmare almost overnight. Be sure to really get to know the person before you become roommates with them. You never really know who they'll turn out to be. Be careful. The story happened to me years ago, but it still affects me to this day. The summer after I graduated high school, I was still living at home with my family. I was up one late night and was packing for a camping trip with my friends. It was unbelievably hot, and I had the window open as I sat and folded my clothes. It was around 2 in the morning, and the next thing I knew, there was a hand coming through the gap in the screen of my window. I screamed, and the hand flew back out. I was stunned, but there was a part of me that wondered if it was my younger brother pranking me. I got up and looked out the window and just saw a figure of a man. He was staring at me. I ran into my brother's room, and he was there playing video games. We called the police, who came and searched the area. They didn't find anything, and they warned me and my parents to lock all of the windows and doors, and then they left. We were all still shaken up, and my mom had a feeling that he would come back. It turns out her mother's intuition was right. She went outside and waited on our back porch. After about 20 minutes or so, she saw the man dressed in black slink into our backyard along the tree line. He hid behind a tree for a few seconds and ran to another tree and hid there, slowly working his way toward my window. My mother yelled something to him and he took off running. The police came back out again, but they found no trace of him. I never opened that window ever again, not even the curtains. My parents had installed some motion detecting lights, and that seemed to be the end of that. About 6 months later, my friend and I got an apartment downtown together. We were really excited as this was our first place all on our own. The apartment wasn't exactly the best quality, but it was so fun to be living in the city, and again, all on our own. The downside was that it was street parking only. After a few weeks, my car was broken into. Nothing was taken but a single rose sat on the passenger seat.
Well, her life is
It
just
was pretty
crazy.
creepy, but I vowed to be vigilant and safe. I always tried to park close to the entrance near the lights, but often it was difficult to get those spots, and I would often have to park further away on darker streets. Things quickly began escalating at this point. My car was broken into at least once a week. Most of the time a flower was left, which I always threw on the ground, but once there was a pair of men's underwear left. And even more creepily, once a bag of Tootsie Rolls, as they were my favorite candy. This made me wonder if the person doing this knew me personally, and I started to become really suspicious and paranoid of everyone. There was a laundry area in the basement of the apartment, and one day I went down to get a load that finished drying. As I started to fold them, I realized all of my undergarments, bras, and panties were gone. I mean, they were completely just gone.
All of her what?
Another panties were gone. I mean, they were completely just gone. Another week, I had a male friend over from school, and his tire got slashed during the visit. By the time the first letter arrived, I had already started making plans to move elsewhere. The letter described a love for me that had been going on for years. He began to note things that proved he had been watching me very closely. I was able to arrange for another friend to take over my lease, and I moved in with another friend on the other side of the city. It was a secured building and had an underground parking garage that was only accessible to tenants. I felt much more secure, and the extra money spent was well worth the peace of mind. Things were quiet for a few months, and then my roommate got a boyfriend. Most of us were wary of Ashley's new boyfriend from the beginning. For one, they met on MySpace after he reached out to her. Another reason was that the new boyfriend, Matt, was extremely good looking. And while Ashley was a wonderful person, she just wasn't the type you would typically expect to date someone like him. Ashley was thrilled. She had never had a boyfriend and had really felt like he was her Prince Charming. I thought he was weird and creepy from the beginning. Matt was on the quiet side, and he always seemed to be sporting an uncomfortable, leering smile. It was difficult to carry on any sort of conversation with him because he would always make it weird with some kind of random fact that was completely unrelated to what we were talking about. I had deleted my MySpace when the initial stalking began, but I created a dummy account to learn more